There we are. Welcome back, everyone. Another episode of Golf Cart Garage. We're going to talk about some golf carts today. Let me make sure everything is rolling. Facebook is rolling. Okay. How's the audio? Everything good with the audio? Microphone setting? Sound right? Okay. This is Tuesday, July the 1st. July the 1st. Episode 252. We're live on Facebook and YouTube right now. If you're watching us on Tuesday the 1st, you are watching us live. If you're watching us at 12 noon Central Time. Okay, good. Okay, I see everybody saying sounds is good. All right, cool. Happy 4th, by the way, everyone. Happy 4th of July. This is, I can't believe this already. Can you believe this weekend's 4th of July? That is, time is just flying by. We already had, I go to the, I'm sure I've said it before, but I go to the lake like every weekend. My wife and I spend a lot of time at the Lake Ouachita here in Arkansas. And we already had a drowning this year. Some man drowned. You can look it up. So I'm sure it's on the news. So be safe out there, because this next weekend is probably even going to be even more dangerous than last weekend. So be careful out there if you're doing anything special for the 4th, anything where there's lots of crowds and lots of distractions. A lot of things can happen. This was a man jumped off a boat playing with kids, and he never came back up. It was right outside of my marina where we go too, just real close. So be safe out there, everyone. Be careful. Be aware of your surroundings. For the 4th, let's see. Let's see what's going on here. Gene Hansen, what's going on, Gene? David Irvin, good afternoon, Gearheads. It's great here in Crystal River, Florida. Howdy from Bristol, Virginia. Greg Elliott, Ricky Smith. What's up, Tim and all the Gearheads? What's up, Ricky? Helpless in Cabot, Arkansas. It is beautiful. It's some beautiful weather we have here going on right now. It's a little hot, but it's not today. It's not too bad today. Kirk Bauer, 86 here, and rain expected for the next 4 days. The GCG sell pontoons for golf carts. Yeah, we need a little rain here. We had quite a bit, but we're getting to that dry now where it wouldn't. We just got some grass planted. I need some rain on my grass. Rob Sider, what's up? Another hot one in Southeast. What's going on, Rob? Sir Walter, happy 4th to you too, Sir Walter. Brad's Restorations. Thanks again, Tim. Okay, I talked to Brad on the phone. We're trying to diagnose his issue with his cart. Finally got it worked out between going over some of his settings, and then he contacted All Tracks directly, and they went over some settings in his controller, and finally found the issue with his cart. All he had done was a lithium conversion, and his cart wasn't working, and turned out to be a broken wire, which is very difficult to diagnose. So hats off to All Tracks for being able to help him diagnose that issue and pinpoint where the problem was. And he said everything's running good now with this new lithium. All good. Oh, they're talking about the sound. Larry England, what's going on, Larry England? Mike Irvin, 83 in southwestern Indiana. Jerry Kelly, what's going on, Jerry Kelly? Gary England, afternoon. Eagle River Mike, checking in. Tim, what's going on, Eagle River Mike? Thank you for stopping in. Warren Smith has got a question, it looks like. Have a golf cart that keeps blowing the controller. Cart runs good until it doesn't. Controller gives no warning, just all of a sudden dies. Change the controller and all works. All right, Warren, I'm aware that there are a whole lot of inexpensive controllers out there that you can get from Amazon. Is that what we're talking about? Because I talk to a lot of people, and I get a lot of bad feedback on those controllers from Amazon, those real inexpensive ones. So what controller is continuously blowing? And tell me a little bit more about your cart. Jerry Kelly, 98 in Madisonville, Texas. Rob Sider says, keep in mind, even if you are a strong swimmer, the body's natural reaction to being surprised is to gulp air. And if you're underwater, you're probably just done. Yeah, this guy never came back up, man, from what I understand. He's playing with his kids and jumped off the boat and never came back up. So I think they said he was 70. So I guess he could have, you know, maybe had a heart attack or something. I don't know. It's terrible. And like I said, that's last weekend wasn't even the holiday weekend. That's this weekend. So it's going to be really busy this weekend. And there was cops, water cops all over the place, you know, after that happened. So Bob Lewis, happy Tuesday from Southeast Alabama. What's going on, Bob Lewis? Kevin Salyer, good afternoon, fellow golf cart nuts. What's going on, Kevin? Thank you for stopping in. I'm just checking on Facebook. Facebook looks like it's dragging a little bit behind, but it's working. Rob Sider says, that's why you never push someone in the water unless they expect it. Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying. If they get surprised, you're saying the natural tendency would be to take on water. Warren Smith says he has tried expensive ones and cheaper ones, and all with the same result. Controller lasts sometimes a few weeks, sometimes a few months. Cart is probably 23 years old or so. Over the last 2 years, I have changed probably 4 controllers. All right, well, is this cart, Warren? We talk about this a lot. Like, is this cart completely stock with the stock height tires, or is this a lifted cart with taller tires? And what controllers are you burning out? Stock controllers? Because if it's lifted with taller tires, then you could be straining the controller, you know, if you're running a stock controller. So that's why I said I need to know a little bit more about your cart. And like Rob says, you could have an intermittent short somewhere that's causing that too, depending on what cart it is. Like let me see. By the way, as of yesterday, they still haven't found that. They still have not found that man that I was talking about that drowned. They still hadn't found him. They hadn't found his body as of yesterday. They've been going out there every day since, I think it happened Friday or Saturday. They've been searching every day. And it wasn't real deep where he went in. It was plenty deep where he didn't hit anything. He definitely didn't hit anything where he went in. But they're having a hard time finding him. They got the sonar boat out there and everything. Facebook is still working. All right. Let's get started with the regular questions. Oh, not the right button. Number 1 is from Todd. A 95 electric club car DS, serial number A95, so that is correct, that's a 95, that recently developed a leak out of the transmission. Okay, so I'm assuming that we're talking about a gas car. Do I need to remove the protective skid plate and examine it closely to see if I can identify where the source is? I'm hoping it's not a cracked case. In the meantime, you see or hear of this much. Do the case gaskets have a history of leaking, etc.? Do you carry transmission parts by hand? Looking for tips. Thank you very much for any advice you might have. Well, you definitely would need to remove. This is what I like to do. I've had cars, even electric cars, that developed some kind of leak in the rear end, and it just gets worse and worse and cakes up the rear end with so much oil and grease and debris that sticks to the oil that it's hard to figure out where the leak's coming from. because it looks like it's from everywhere. You know, if by the time you get to it, by the time it bothers you enough that you want to tackle the project, it's so messy that it's hard to tell. So I actually like to power wash it off. So like take the skid plate off and then power wash it perfectly clean. Get it really clean. You know, just power wash everything out of the way, wipe it dry and everything, and then come back the next day and look for the leak. You know, that make it easier to find if it's just, you know, on a fresh, clean slate. But no, I have not had problems with that. Let's see, you asked me, do I need to remove? I would remove the skid plate. I would clean it and then make it easier. That would make it easier to find. I'm hoping it's not a cracked case. I think it would be very unusual if it was a cracked case, if you don't see any damage to the skid plate. In the meantime, do you see or hear of this much? No, I do not. I do not hear of that much. They do not have a history of leaking. They're generally pretty good. Now, as far as us carrying transmission parts, like internal transmission parts or gaskets, that's probably going to be an OEM thing. You might have to go OEM on that because it's a very uncommon part. You know, we mainly sell more of the common parts that, you know, that get bought over and over and over again. And those parts you're talking about, those generally last 20, 30 years before anybody needs to do anything there, or even more. Let's see. That was Todd. Let's switch over here to Facebook. Terry Wilson, 2013 E-Z-GO RX-V. Cart won't move when pedal is pushed. Intermittent. Garage replaced pedal switch and dash plug. Solenoid and key switch are new. Batteries are fully charged. Problems still exist. Well, it sounds like you've replaced all the common RX-V problems, because the number one on the list for RX-V is solenoid. That's number one, is a solenoid, is being causing an intermittent issue. It's a weird deal too, because an RX-V is 48 volts and it uses a 36 volt solenoid. It's wired to activate off of just 36 volts. They replaced the pedal switch and dash plug, solenoid, and key switch are new. Batteries fully charged. Problems still exist. Okay, you're saying batteries fully charged, but this is an intermittent issue. Well, like I was saying, the number one common issue with RX-Vs is solenoid. The number two is motor brake. It's a very complicated system. It's an AC system with a converter that's a controller / AC converter and to an AC motor. So the motor is the next most common replaced part, or motor brake is the next most common replaced part on there. Have you been to a shop? Have they tried to diagnose it? That would be my first question. Leather Mule, what's going on? Leather Mule, great video, Colonial Beach, Virginia. Facebook is working, but it is lagging. I don't like that. Number two. Let me look at number one again. Okay, yeah, that was number one from Todd. So number two is from Paul. Is anyone redoing Harley-Davidson golf cart crankshafts? Now that's a good question. I have two that need cranks, and I hate to take the chance on used ones. No clue what you're getting. It seems everything else is available for those engines, but if you need a crank, you're kind of screwed. I hate to swap it to a different engine or go electric. I'm in the classic car business, just can't do it. I understand that, Paul. You kind of would love to use Harley-Davidson, you know, original parts if you can. That's if you have already been to vintagegolfcartparts.com with no luck, then maybe you should contact them and see what their advice would be. Because on older cars like that, including Harley-Davidsons, they do have a lot of old stuff, but if they don't have it, I'm sure they might be able to give you some advice on where to get it. If not, also visit the golf cart forums. There's going to be a Harley-Davidson section in the major golf cart forums. One of them is buggiesgonewild.com. The other golf cart forum I like to use is cartaholics.com. There will be a section in there where people talk about Harley-Davidson golf cars. And there might be somebody that is also has an outlet for a crank. Even if you have to join, it's worth it. If you're working on a car like that, it's worth it to join the forum. It's free. I mean, it's not like it costs you anything. And there will be a lot of information. There's going to be a lot of people that have Harleys in there. Also, look up, there's some motor rebuilders in Georgia. Look up golf cart motor rebuilders and see what all comes up. There's going to be there's some places in Georgia that rebuild motors, and you send them your core and they'll rebuild it and send it back to you, and you get a core credit for sending in your core. They may know how to get in touch with somebody or get in touch with a Harley-Davidson crank. Number 3. Number 3 is from John. 2014 Club Car Precedent that I just installed 3 is it's either Epoch or Epic. I'm not sure how they pronounce it. I used to work for a company then it was pronounced Epic. 3 Epic, but it wasn't a battery company, so I'm not sure how I've heard it pronounced both ways. 3 Epic lithium batteries, a 400 amp that's a Navitas controller he's describing, and a D&D motor systems motor. I cannot find the program on the Navitas for this specific motor. Which program do I download for this specific motor and controller setup? Well, you are correct, John. Like if your car, yeah, it's a precedent. So yeah, it's a run tow switch car. So it's a shunt wound car. And if you're going to put a controller in there, you need the correct field map. It needs to be matched to your motor. So let's see, what's it called? The field map is going to be motor specific from the motor builder. Like D&D would be the person to answer your question. They would tell you which field map needs to be in your controller for that particular motor, for that D&D. I just got through going through the same thing with my camo cart. I put a new controller in it, and I took the motor out and I changed the motor to a stock motor. And when I got my new controller, when I ordered my new controller from Alltracks, they asked specifically, what motor are you running? And I said, well, it's a stock motor. And I said, okay, well, that's field map 4. And so they set it up for me before it was even delivered to me. So D&D would be the one to talk to about which would be the correct field map for your particular motor. All right. Rob Sider, flying through the questions today. What is it, hat day? Nope. No, I guess we are flying through them a little bit. The last couple of times, we've had lots of distractions. Not distractions, had lots of live questions. But Larry Consley, what's going on, Larry Consley? Bruce from Westfield, Wisconsin. Now, tell me you got your swag, Bruce. Did you get your swag? Bruce was one of our winners, our recent winners of the bag of swag or the hat. I tracked it. Sir Walter. Okay, you did get it. Okay, good. I tracked it. I think from the tracking number I think I told you I was going to send you a tracking number, but when I checked on it, I think it was last Tuesday it said it was being delivered that day. So that's why I didn't send you a tracking number, because by the time you saw my email, you should have gotten it. But Sir Walter, do you recommend repairing an EasyGo PowerWise QE charger? Right off the bat, Sir Walter, I would say no. I think it can be repaired now. See, used to they couldn't be repaired. You know, there was no outlet to get them repaired. Then Flight Systems, I believe, started offering that service. So if you wanted to check into it to see, look up FSIP, Frank Sam I Pickle. That stands for Flight Systems Industrial Products. Give them a call, see if they still offer that service to repair that charger. It's very possible that they do, but that's the only place that I would know of. Most people just ditch them. They just ditch them, and then they get a new charger. But things have changed, you know, so it's they may still offer that service. Bruce, doing a working lunch today, so more listening than watching. Not a problem, man. I'm just glad you got your swag. Terry Wilson says, the shop replaced the pedal switch and dash plug last week. It worked okay. This is that RXV. I can toggle the ignition switch and it will sometimes move. Ignition switch and solenoid were replaced first. You're down to, Terry, you're down to controller and motor brake that could be causing you an issue. Those intermittent problems are the worst, absolute worst to diagnose and try to figure out. There we go on Facebook, Bart Gilman. Hey Tim. Can I test a Yamaha G29 motor by tying the two posts on each side and using jumper wires to the big post for testing? All right, Bart, before I answer that, I need to make sure that we're talking about the same thing here. Okay, G29 is going to be a shunt wound motor. So you can do the motor isolation test on a shunt wound motor. You just need to make sure that you're following the instructions for a shunt wound motor and not a series wound motor. Let me get I'll read you, hold on, let me, just a second. All right. All right, so for a shunt wound motor, Bart, you're going to tie the F1 to the A1. Okay, that's going to be a little post to a big post. All right, F1 to an A1. It's going to be labeled on your motor. You may have to clean it to find where the stamp is. And then you also tie the F2 to the A2. That's two separate jumpers. All right. Then you put 12 volts positive on, 12 volt negative goes to the S2 A2 combination. 12 volt positive to the, I'm sorry, I said S, I meant F1 or F2 A2 combination, and then 12 volt positive to the F1 A1 combination, and your motor should spin. But I just wanted to make sure that we're talking about the same thing when you said the small and big posts. So look for the labels. They should be labeled on your motor. A should be F2, F1, A1, and A2. Frank Hoffman, happy Tuesday from South Carolina. What's going on, Frank Hoffman? Thank you for stopping in, sir. Happy 4th of July. was I at on probably number 4, I believe. I'm sure that there are some people thinking right now, Terry Wilson, trying to come up with something else. There's some people in the room that are racking their brains. I can feel it through my computer. So stick around. Somebody may have another opinion here. Number 4 is from Paul. I have an EV Fairplay cart. The battery indicator on the dash flashes back and forth. Batteries are at 7.9 volts on a 48 volt system. When the charger is plugged in, it comes on and shuts off. Well, 7.9 volts on a 48 volt system. I'm assuming you have 6 8-volt batteries there, since they're at 7.9. At least I hope that's what you have, because if you've got 12-volt batteries, that's really bad. But even 7.9 is considered dead. That's considered a dead battery. So that could very easily be causing your fault that is showing up. You know, the fault code that you're talking about. When the charger, making the charger come on and shut off. Something is blocking. The best thing to do would be try that charger on another cart first and just eliminate that as being the issue, because obviously it's not charging your cart if your batteries are at 7.9 volts. So let's get that charger thing figured out first. That might be difficult for a Fairplay cart. You might have to find another Fairplay cart with the same exact plug. But sometimes you have no choice in that matter. But that's what I would want to do. Eliminate that charger as being the problem, because your cart is obviously not getting charged. Number 5. This is from Jeffrey. Hello, Tim. I have a 1973 gas Harley-Davidson 3-wheeler cart with a new top end and a new Tilliston carb installed. Ran great for a week. Now won't run if the gas is pressed more than just a little bit. It will run with a slight gas pedal, but when you push it further, it just dies. Now if I half choke it and get it going, then it will rev up and have power and fly down my backyard. This carb doesn't have a high side adjustment, so I'm stumped. Well, Jeffrey, anytime something like that and somebody tells me that if I half choke it or if I pull the choke it runs better, that always, especially on an old 2-stroke, I mean, you didn't mention anything about how if you had changed crank seals before. And so that choking it, what you're doing is you're forcing more fuel to actually come to the engine. You're forcing, because you're choking off the air, which forces it to pump more fuel. So you could have a fuel delivery system, you could have a fuel delivery problem if choking it helps. There's a fuel delivery problem because choking it forces it to pump more fuel. So that's where I would want to concentrate first. Yep, Aaron's saying the same thing. It's starving for fuel unless it's choked. Yeah, because choking it forces it to get more fuel. So you have to think about it like that. If choking it makes it better, then it could be one of two things. You could have a fuel delivery problem, or you could have a massive air leak in your crank seals. It would do the same thing. Choking it would make that better if you had a massive air leak in your crank seals. And on an old 2-stroke, that'd be extremely common to have just completely worn out crank seals. Big Mike. What's going on, Big Mike? Thank you for stopping in. Eagle River Mike. FYI, I asked Navitas Tech support why my buzzer doesn't beep 3 times on my club car precedent when the charger is plugged in. He said the Navitas controller doesn't have that built into it. So you have a pressed it with a, yeah. Club car pressing when the charger is plugged in. He said the Navitas controller doesn't have that built into it. Okay. Well, I will remember that. Bart Gilman said that's what he did. That's the test that he ran, and he got nothing. Okay, well then there's something. I would say that if you got nothing doing that test, Bart Gilman, that shunt wound motor test, then you got something wrong inside that motor. Number 6 is where we're at on the regular questions. Number 6 is from Benjamin. Hi Tim, do you know if there's a way to change the angle of the steering column? I installed a new seat and now the steering wheel is too low. I know I've seen other carts with a more vertical steering column. Mine seemed pretty low even before I put the new seat on. I have a 99 workhorse ST350, thanks. Where am I at there? Number 6. The only thing I know of, Benjamin, is there's a company called I Did It, and they make steering columns and tilt wheels for golf carts. They very well may make a steering column where the whole thing is moved up some. Because that's actually a pretty common question. I mean, let's face it, men come in all shapes and sizes. And sometimes that steering wheel in a golf cart is too close. You know, it's like driving a little kid's car or something. So that's where companies like I Did It come in. So check into that. It's called I Did It. And they make golf cart accessory steering wheels and tilt wheels. I'm not sure about entire columns going up and down, but I wouldn't be surprised. So that's who I would check into for that. Other than that, you're going to have to, you know, fabricate something. Keith, what's going on? Hey Tim, Keith and Chris from Nashville checking in. 88 degrees and humid. Have a great day. Yes, it is about 88 degrees here in Arkansas also. It's a beautiful day. We've had beautiful weather lately. I love this time of year. It's very nice. I've been riding motorcycles and everything I like to do in this time of year. Hey Ron, I wish I could move my steering up too. I'm too fat for my cart depending on how many tacos I eat on Taco Tuesday. That's exactly right. Yeah, I don't always eat tacos on Taco Tuesday, but when I do, it's too much. Okay, number 7 is where we're at on the regular questions. I do have a picture of, somebody sent me a picture of their cart. I do have a picture loaded up for Let's See for today. Number 7 is from Neil. I have a question. I have a 2005 ST350 and I'm going to do an oil change. It looks like when you remove the filter cover that the oil will drain on the skid plate. Does this happen? If so, what is the best way to do the oil change without a huge mess? Looks like when you remove the filter, well, I don't know about that. You drain the oil first. then remove the filter, because if I'm not mistaken, that car has it doesn't have a spin-off oil filter. It might have the kind that is in a flat spot with a little triangle that you take out. It comes out of the side of the engine. Well, if you drain the oil first out of the drain plug, and then you remove the filter, it shouldn't make as much of a mess. But yeah, that's very common for oil to drain on skid plates of golf carts, of gas golf carts. That's very common. I always, try to drain the oil first, especially if, when the oil filter is a little higher than the drain plug. I guess I'm understanding the question correctly, but yeah, that's common that maybe removing the skid plate altogether would help you. Number 8 is where we're at. Let me check Facebook and make sure that everything's cool. Yeah, everything's good over there. Number 8. This is from Peter T. I changed all the batteries to 12s. Okay, no other changes at this point. I have the stock 36 volt relay, and I just split the batteries for input voltage to the coil. Motor is stock with V-Glide and resistor coils. I did a GPS before at 15 with 36 volt 22 tires all stock. At 72 it does about 22 miles per hour. I ran it wide open for about 2 miles. The motor was not hot to the touch. It's much faster than before, and there is about twice the power. It is so not fast enough. What do I upgrade next? Changing the batteries is a pain with my 36 volt charger. I need 72. Where do I get one of those? Please let me know what problem I may encounter. All right, so you changed all your batteries to 12, so now you have 72 volt car. All right, and you split the batteries for the input voltage to the coil. All right, so that's actually some really good information in case any of y'all ever thought about doing this. See, that's what it means. Just because your solenoid is like a 72 volt solenoid or a 12 volt solenoid or a 36 volt solenoid or a 48 volt solenoid, that actually has nothing to do with it being a heavy duty solenoid. That solenoid, the voltage that it is the voltage that it needs to activate. That's all it has to do with, the activation voltage. So if you're going to change your batteries to a different voltage, you've got to figure out how to get that coil to activate on the correct voltage. And that's what he did there when he said he split the pack, because 72 volts split is 36. So he could just tap off of 36 volts for the coil activation. And so that's correct. Motor is stock with V-Glide and resistor coils. I just can't believe your resistor coils are holding up at 72 volts. That would be interesting to see if that continues to hold up. And you said you ran it wide open for about 2 miles and the motor was not hot to touch. It's much faster than before. Well, I can tell you this, if you ran it wide open for 2 miles, motor's not hot, then that's fine. And I would say that your resistor coil setup is actually working, because where you're going to come into a problem is when you're not running wide open. That's where you're going to come into a problem. Well, I think you would. That's my prediction. So I hope Peter T is watching this and will come back and let us know how this works, because this is definitely not the proper way to go to 72 volts. But if it's working, then it's working. There's about twice the power. It's not fast enough. What do I upgrade next? Changing the batteries is a pain. Charging the batteries is a pain with my 36 volt charger. All right, I have a solution for that. Let's just take that question. On that particular car, your setup, since you went to 6 12s, all right, you can actually run 2 charging receptacles. I know that sounds crazy, but no. You could install 1 charging receptacle for your first 3 batteries, and then you can install a second charging receptacle for your next 3 batteries. You could charge, and when you plug that charger in, it's only going to charge those 3 batteries that charging receptacle is hooked to. Similar to what you did with your activation coil. It's going to charge your first 3 batteries. Then when that's done, unplug it and plug it into your other receptacle, and that will charge the next 3 batteries. The reason you can do this is because this card is in series. So that would be the answer there. You can get a 72 volt charger that will do them all at once, or you could do what I said, use your 36 volt charger, or I can tell you what else you can do. This is gonna mess some people's head up. You can actually get a second 36 volt charger if it's an old transformer type charger. If they're both old transformer type chargers, you can literally run them at the same time. Now I know I'm gonna get some feedback on that one. But I had a car before where I actually ran 4 36 volt chargers at the same time because the cart was on 144 volts. But you can only do that with the transformer type chargers. Rob Snyder, I was watching Vice Grip Garage and he bought an AMC that had a steering column made from electrical conduit. Some Dodge trucks drain on the skid plate. Oh, the oil drain thing, yeah. Okay. Oh, well, let's go back to that, the last part of your question. You could change the gears if you wanted to. I wouldn't change the gears. This is what I've said before. I wouldn't change the gears unless you have wheelie popping power at this point. I think you need to drive this car around before you do anything else and see what other problems you're going to run into. I cannot see that resistor coil setup holding up on 72 volts unless you continue to run it wide open, because anything less than wide open is going to be going through the resistor coils. So I would love to get some later on feedback for your setup there, because that's interesting. Number 9. How do I change rear gear oil in a 2002 gas, and what is the best to replace it with? All this is new to me, just trying to learn tips and tricks. Well, there will be a drain bolt back there for sure on the gear oil. Now, I don't know well, most gas cars, it's the manual calls for SAE 30 weight gear oil. That's what most of them call for, SAE 30 gear oil. Now, as I've said before, you don't really have to be a big stickler about that as long as there's some gear oil in there. But always do whatever your manual recommends. It's very easy to find what the manual recommends for a 2002 E-Z-GO TXT gas. It'd be very easy to find what it calls for in the rear end. But I'm pretty sure it's SAE 30 gear oil. Always do that, but the most important thing is just make sure you have gear oil in there, because there are cars that have been around been running for 15, 20 years, and they've never had that gear oil looked at, and they're still going. See, a golf cart differential is pretty much the exact same technology as an automobile differential, except in a very low speed vehicle compared to a car. So there's not a lot of damage going on inside those gas rear ends. Not a lot of wear and tear, unless you're abusing it in some way. So they tend to last for a very long time. Number 10, this is the last scheduled question, and then I'll show a picture I got from a viewer of his cart, Mike Cable. If you're watching, Mike, I'm going to show your cart here in a minute. Thank you for sending me a picture. Number 10 is from Patrick. The rear brake cable brackets are getting in the way of my custom 4-link suspension in the rear. I wonder if I put front brakes on my car, would the rear brakes still be necessary? From Patrick. Well, I actually do have a little experience with that in when I was building the race car, putting the race car together. At one point, I decided to eliminate the rear brakes and just not run them because I can't remember why. Oh, it was a weight savings issue is what I was dealing with, and I put the Jake's hydraulic disc on the front only. Now, it worked fine except at very high speed. So my question would be, you could eliminate the rear and just use front depending on how fast your car is. If your car is really, really fast, you definitely don't want to do that. You don't want to do that if your car is fast. You want to keep your rear brakes. If your car, and considering you're talking about you just built a custom 4-link suspension in the rear, I'm going to assume that your car is not normal speed. So what happens is you get a way more brake dive when you only have front brakes on. You want your rears to come in first. What I ended up doing with mine was so fast that I had to eliminate the disc off the front completely, and I did the mechanical disc conversion on the rear, not hydraulic. Mechanical disc conversion on the rear. Greatest thing ever. Works perfect. Works perfect. I can lock them up. They held up really good to speed. My cart doesn't dive or swerve when I hit the brakes at the end of the track from high speed. Not a whole lot of brake dive, just enough to slow me down to get me to the turn-off road. So yeah, that worked out for me a lot better. But I would not suggest just running front brakes. Okay. Title of this video was this episode was Gear Oil. SAE 30, always do what your manual recommends. Here's some social media links that you can follow us on. Please follow us on YouTube and Facebook. Give us a thumbs up, give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already done so. But there's some other TikTok and Instagram links that you can follow us on also. Let's go ahead and do the Let's See segment since I have a cart to show. Let's see some carts. There's my graphic. Okay, this is from Mike Cable. He sent me this picture of his cart. I thought it was cool. Bam! From Mike Cable in New Jersey, a 1992 E-Z-Go with a epic 36-volt battery, Sporting Clays buggy with gun racks and self-built lift kit. See, this is an E-Z-Go marathon. It's amazing. There's a lot of E-Z-Go marathons out there still running around. And it looks like he didn't go too crazy on his battery height, you know, for this cart. Those look like probably 20s. That's what I have on mine, is 20s. And then you've got the epic 36-volt lithium in there. That's a clash in technologies there, isn't it? Now that's the same thing as my G1. My Yamaha G1 has got an LED light bar on the front, and I used to always laugh when I would look at it because I always called that a clash in technologies. You know, for almost my G1's in '86, so it's almost 40 years old. They didn't even have LED light bars 40 years ago, and it works great. I mean, it works just great. In case any of you have been thinking about doing that, it definitely works. I mean, my LED light bar on my G1 is only 1 foot long. It's just a 12-inch light bar. That's all you need on a golf cart. That's plenty of light. That's plenty of light. But anyway, he's got this Sporting Clay cart fixed up. He built his own lift kit. You know, lift kits on marathons are pretty simple. You just got a block on the front, and you can just block in the rear. I mean, all of them are just blocked in the rear. But on a marathon, they used to make a very inexpensive lift kit that was just blocks in the front. So a lot of people have fabricated their own on marathons, but that's pretty cool. And that, along with the lithium battery with the tremendous savings in weight, I'm sure it really woke that car up. I'd be interested to know if that 92 is a resistor car or a controller car, because I believe you could get controller cars in '92 in a marathon. I mean, you can really there's some easy modifications you can do to those marathon controller cars. Keith, any updates on your lithium battery project? I'll probably need to make a decision sometime this winter. Yes, Keith, I've been talking about it. Haven't had time this week to do any more testing, but so far so good. It runs good, and it's a PDS with a stock motor. Okay, it is lifted, but now it weighs 300 pounds less. On 20s, I'm only on 20s. You know, stock tires are 18s, so my car is lifted, but it's only on 20s. It's got a really nice brand new All-Trax controller because I ended up having to replace my old controller. For some reason, my old All-Trax controller went out, so I got a new All-Trax controller, and then now I have the new lithium in there on the stock PDS motor, and man, it runs good. It runs really well. It's over 20 miles an hour. It's more like 24, something like that on flat ground. And I'm up to about, I think I've gotten up to 10 miles without any issues whatsoever. So far so good on that cheap D-Max battery. Rob Sider was in Helen, Georgia, and saw what he thinks was an E-Z-GO that had a 55 Ford Thunderbird body kit on it. That was pretty. Yeah, I think I've seen Thunderbird bodies. But anyway, I wanted to thank Mike Cable for sending me pictures of his cart. That's pretty cool. A lot of marathons still running around out there. That's the one, like I've said before, we'll get into it one day if somebody wanted to know, but that's the wiring diagram that I used for my race car. Is I used a wiring diagram from an E-Z-GO Marathon. And the reason is because an E-Z-GO Marathon controller car comes with a 0 to 5K potentiometer already. And there's not a lot of potentiometer, there's not a lot of controllers out there that will handle 72 volts or more with ITS throttle input, or or any of the other regular golf cart throttle inputs. But what's very, very common is 0 to 5K. So you can just follow an E-Z-GO Marathon wiring diagram and basically just replace the batteries with higher voltage batteries. That's pretty much all that's all you got to do. As long as your controller will hold over 72 volts. And then you got to do what we were talking about earlier about splitting the pack on the solenoid for it to activate correctly. But that's what I did. And then I started eliminating everything else in the electrical system that wasn't necessary, like all those pesky micro switches and safety switches and that pesky forward and reverse device. Just eliminate all that completely. But started out as a marathon wiring diagram. Okay, if you would like to send me some pictures like Mike Cable did, there is my email address. Please send me something, and I will very possibly feature it on one of the following episodes. That is 00timfreeman@gmail.com, by the way. We do give away hats on this channel occasionally. Whenever I feel like it, I just give a hat away. This is the hats we got. We're out of, believe it or not, we're out of the one all the way on the left side of the screen, the light blue with the black stitching. Apparently that one was a very popular one. We're out of that one. Still have all the other ones. If you'd like to buy one, there's links in the description. But we give them away here at random. You got to show up every week. Here is the contact information for Golf Cart Garage. There's support at golfcartgarage.com. If you need that question to go to me, then you can put attention Tim. They'll make sure that I get it. If you need to talk about shipping or anything like that, then just send it to there. But if you want something to come directly to me, there's my email up top on the top of the screen. We are also, we still have Eco battery shirts, and we have this Eco hat still. We are out of this one with the green stitching. I was informed that we're out of that one, so I need to quit showing that one. But there's the front of the shirt, and we still have that Eco battery hat available. So we're out of the golf cart garage hat that's light blue with the black stitching, and we're out of the Eco hat that has the green stitching. We're out of those. So, but I'll remember all that. I wrote all that down for the next bag of swag winner, so there won't be any mix-up. Okay. Looking at Facebook, that looks good. Looking at YouTube, that looks good. Let me see what else we can show here. That looks like it's about it. Oh, coupon. Here's the current active coupon that you can use at Golf Cart Garage at checkout, golfcartgarage.com. You get 5% off any parts that you order if you use the coupon code GHOD5. GHOD5. This code expires July. Oh no, this is July. Yeah, this is July. So we got another month on that code. Okay, I thought it was expired today, but no. Yeah, that code expires July 31st. So we're good. There we go. All right. Happy 4th of July to you, Frank, and everyone else. Everybody, like I said earlier, please be safe out there this weekend, whatever your 4th of July activities may be. Always seems to be an uptick of something, bad happening, because you get all these crowds that develop everywhere, whether it's on the lakes or whether it's wherever you go to celebrate. So everybody, please be aware of your surroundings and please be careful. And that's going to be about it for me today. I'll take that off, so that will be on there next time. All right. I'll see everybody next Tuesday, which looks like will be Tuesday the 8th. It'll be July the 8th. All right, cool. All right, guys. Thank you for everybody for showing up. I appreciate it. I really do. I will see everybody next week. The garage is now closed.